Hello there, sewing pals and gals. My name is Jacqueline, and this is the Sewing Parlor, the space where I stitch, create, and share my sewing makes. Today I'm going to go over the Grab A Cuppa Cardi cardigan from Pattern Emporium. If that interests you, go ahead and stick around, grab yourself something to sip on, something to munch on, and let's get started. Today I'm sipping on some coffee. I got this mug for my birthday. It is the New Orleans famous French Market coffee mug. I'm planning a girls trip with my sister and my mother at the towards the end of the year. So we are just super excited to be planning that and getting mentally prepared for all the great things New Orleans has to offer. As part of my Make 9 plans, I did have on there the Grab A Cuppa Cardi from Pattern Emporium. I wanted to use a PDF pattern since I've never sewn up a PDF pattern before, and this is honestly what came of my very first experience sewing up a PDF pattern. My sister shared some interest in the Grab A Cuppa Cardi, and so I offered to sew it up for her as well. And she chose the long version with the longer sleeves. There are two versions of the sleeves. You can either do the long sleeve here, or you can just use kind of the grown on shoulder. And there's a piece you can attach that is just a band, and that would just give it a shorter sleeve. So I'll show you a couple pictures of what hers look like. I sewed it out of the same material that I have wearing right now, and this material I got from Joann Fabrics. It is a modal loungewear. It came in a couple different colors, and honestly it was right next to all the athletic knitwear. Before I dove into the fabric that I chose for both my cardigan and my sister's, I wanted to do kind of a wearable muslin, and I did it out of this black, it's a very thin knit that I got from part of the Walmart roll-up bundles, and I believe it was 3 yards for $4, so it was quite a steal. It is pretty thin. It has a stripe effect, and it is a little bit see-through. The weave is not super tight. It's actually kind of loose. But for a wearable muslin, I thought it turned out okay. I just kind of want to know how to get the fit right. I had heard that this oversized cardigan is really oversized, so I was just trying to figure out what kind of size I needed to cut. So based on my body measurements, I would have, if I went off of those, which I did for this one to begin with, I cut out a 16. I think I went off the bust size, and so I cut out a 16. The sleeves for me were a little bit too long, so I did shorten those. So this is not how long the sleeve is on the actual pattern. I did shorten that. Unfortunately, I think I shortened it just a little bit too much. Same thing with the end result, because I did pre-wash the fabric, but again, if you're washing the fabric over and over again, it just keeps getting smaller and smaller. So if I had to do it over again, which I probably will, I did the longer version as well as the cropped version, and that is what I'm wearing right now. I would like to do the mid-length version. I would probably, if I can find this fabric again. After trying this one on, I did not like how oversized it was, so I did shorten it to a size 10. And I kept my sister's also at a size 10. My sister is much taller than me. I'm 5'1". I believe she's 5'6". But I cut out a size 10 for both her and I. I kept her sleeves as long as what the pattern calls for, and I just shortened the sleeves on my own. I do feel like with the shoulder seam, I have to make sure it's actually on my shoulders when putting this on. Otherwise, the back of the cardigan will like kind of pull up. So I have to make sure that the shoulder seams are right at my shoulders. I kind of find that to be a little bit fussy, because I guess throughout the day of wearing it. I'm just feel like I'm always fiddling with it. As far as the cropped version, I am not used to the cropped style. One of the goals I've had for the past year and continuing on this year is just trying to find my style, and as an adult, just trying to kind of see what works for my body now. I will say the cropped style I'm not sold on it just yet. I feel like where it hits, and I didn't shorten the cropped version, I kept that right where the pattern says to cut. And I feel like it hits my problem area, or my area of concern. It hits that area right there. So I'm always like pulling it down and make sure that my belly is covered. I am wearing high-waisted pants. I'll show you a video of how it looks lengthwise. As comfortable as it is, I just feel like I'm always pulling this down. So the cropped version for myself, I'm not loving, but that has something to do with the pattern. It's just like how that silhouette looks on me. I just find that I don't love that too much. So I am excited to sew up the mid-length version and see how that would look on me. So for my sister's version, I did get buttons that I tried to find the color that matched, and I did find them at Joann Fabrics. These are the kind I used for my sister's. It's not exact, but it definitely blends in pretty good. So this one is called a dusty purple. This color is called a dusty purple on the Joann website. It's definitely a royal purple, and these ones, they're showing up blue on camera, but these ones were about as close as I can get it. As for the buttons I used on my cropped cardigan, I actually found these at Walmart, and they're wooden heart-shaped buttons. If I can get out of this little packet. I did get these at Walmart. I just thought those were darling, and that would look good against the purple. But I am satisfied with that. If I do end up picking this fabric again for the medium size, I will also add on these same exact buttons just because I love them so much. I wouldn't say the pattern was difficult to follow as far as the instructions go. I thought the picture layout and the written instructions were pretty easy to follow. I'm trying to think if there was any areas that tripped me up at all, and I don't think there was, other than when sewing on the band all along the opening of the cardigan. You do have to, if you're starting on one end, you keep the fabrics as together as you can, but once you start the curve and back around the shoulder, you do have to kind of pull on the facing fabric a little bit so that the band kind of matches. I mean, even with the notches in place, the directions do mention that you need to pull a little bit all along the upper part, but once you get down to the straight, then you shouldn't be pulling at all. I did find that just a little bit difficult on this one, especially because this knit is a looser weave and it stretches quite a bit. It was harder to kind of even out how much to keep the fabrics together here as opposed to here, if that makes sense. That probably doesn't. I'm sorry. I will say that I do like it buttoned up the best. This one I didn't put on any buttons, and it's just an open throw it on cardigan. I do like the functionality of it. I do like that you have the option of, keeping it open or keeping it buttoned up. Like I said, you could layer it when it's opened, or just have it wear it as is if it's buttoned up. Again, when I cut out the medium mid-length version, I probably won't wear anything underneath just because I won't have that area of concern popping out. So as far as my sleeve, not only did I shorten it lengthwise, but I also narrowed it as well. I didn't want it as big as what the pattern calls for. And I believe I also did it on the mock-up as well. For my sisters, I did not. So with her pictures, hopefully you'll be able to see that the picture or the sleeves are a little bit wider, as well as keeping the length of what the pattern calls for. It does call for interfacing where you place the buttons, so just be careful on what kind of interface weight that you choose. One thing to keep in mind, the button holes and the where you place the button is a little bit off, because when you're closing your garment, you're not closing it on a 2D, you're closing it on a 3D, so you have to make room for that. I had never seen this before on a Big 4 pattern, but because this is my first time doing a PDF pattern from an indie brand, I thought that was interesting that the button placement and the button hole was slightly off. And not off, it's just it didn't line up exactly on the pattern piece. So like, for example, I'm working on a butterick pattern, and it always comes for a Big 4 pattern, it always comes with a long guide, and it has where the buttonhole should be and where you should actually place the buttons, and it's exactly the same. But on this one, like I said, it shows you where to put. Let's just actually pull out the pattern piece, shall we? So the first button, you line up the button with the buttonhole. This one is for the cropped cardigan, but as you can see, the buttonhole is up higher than where the button is up higher than where the buttonhole is. So again, I just thought that was interesting, and it works out just fine. It fits as it should. So also be mindful, it does come with the option for pockets for the mid-size and the long version. It does call for interfacing for the pocket. I didn't add pockets to the long version. And I thought, because this has just a wider weave and you could see through it, that adding interfacing to the fabric for the pocket, unless you had like a matching, so say I had black interfacing to do for the pocket, then that would have been fine, but all I had was white. So you definitely would have seen the interfacing if I added pockets to this. So just be mindful of that as well if you're also using a knit that is somewhat see-through. It does suggest on the pattern to use an elastic along the shoulders and the neckband. And that was another first for me. I've never sewn with an elastic, just to kind of add more security to that. So that is it for the Grab A Cuppa Cardi cardigan. I'm super excited to sew one more version of the Grab A Cuppa Cardi. I do recommend this pattern. I will say I thought it was pretty convenient to be able to print off the pattern at home. As far as taping it all together, there weren't too many pattern pieces to do that, but I don't know if it was my printer, but certain lines just did not line up correctly. So I kind of had to finagle that, and because this is a knit, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I think the actual fit of the pattern worked out just fine. If this was a woven, I would be a little bit more concerned with the lines not matching up. But again, this could be like just personally what my printer was able to do. Again, I'm not an expert with the PDF patterns. This is my first time printing out a PDF pattern at home and taping it all together. Okay, so if you want to see more from me, go ahead and hit like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload next. Again, my name is Jacqueline, and this is the Sewing Parlor. Boo boo, boo 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 boo. She wouldn't let me get the last part of my video in. Who's that? Who's that? Until I sew again, I hope you sew something beautiful for yourself. If that interests you, go ahead and stick around. Grab yourself something to stitch on. The Joanne website. Okay, I am recording. Let's just turn you back around. Ew, who's that? Who's that baby? 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 Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.